I've done a few write-ups on the M42 and the T-34, but those are more for tanks. I thought I'd do something different and try a blog-style entry. What do you think? Among the most ambitious and arguably the most impractical weapons of World War II were Germany's superguns, epitomized by the colossal Schwerer Gustav. Designed by Krupp, this railway-mounted siege gun was the largest artillery piece ever used in combat. It fired 80 cm caliber shells, which is about 31 inches, weighing over 7 tons each. These massive projectiles could then be hurled for nearly 30 miles, far enough to penetrate concrete fortifications, meters thick. To put that into perspective, even the largest American or Russian cannons of the era could barely reach 25 miles. But how exactly did Germany manage to build such a weapon? And what was its actual use in combat? To answer the first part of that question, we'll have to delve deep into the engineering feat that was the Schwerer Gustav. The gun itself weighed 1,350 tons, which is about 1,500,000 pounds. So needless to say, its movement was extremely restricted. It required a specially laid double railway track and needed a crew of hundreds, if not thousands, more for its logistical support and protection. Due to its sheer size, the gun could only be transported in pieces and assembled on site. This process, as you can imagine, took weeks. This brings us to the second part of the question regarding its use in combat. Schwerer Gustav saw action against the Soviet fortress of Sevastopol in 1942. There it demolished heavy fortifications and proved effective against the enemy. However, its slow deployment, coupled with its vulnerability to air attack and the immense demands it made on resources, soon made it clear that this weapon was more of a liability than an asset. In fact, by 1943, with the war in Russia not going well for Germany, the supergun was no longer considered practical for fast-moving warfare and was scrapped. However, this wasn't the end of railway artillery. Germany, along with other nations, experimented with various forms of it. The French, for example, had the 25-ton, 155mm Leroux gun. Britain had the 16-inch, 40-ton Big Bertha, while the Americans developed the smaller 105mm T3. But it was the Germans who took things to the extreme, like the K5E Leopold, an experimental 280mm cannon with a range of nearly 125 miles. This weapon, however, was undone by its immense size and setup requirements. Any advantage gained by its heavy firepower was lost when it came under fire from Soviet aircraft. So why then do we find these superguns so fascinating? Perhaps it's because they represent a bygone era of warfare, a time when industrial might and engineering prowess were more important than strategy or tactics. After all, these guns were more symbols of national strength than actual battlefield tools. By the end of World War II, advances in air power and rocketry, exemplified by the VO weapons, made fixed or slow-moving artillery increasingly obsolete. Yet the dream of rolling thunder on the battlefield lived on, and it was until the 1980s that we saw the development of mobile multiple-launch rocket systems like the M and the Smerch, which could deliver similar firepower without the need for giant cannons. Schwerer Gustav remains a marvel of mechanical design and a reminder that in war, bigger isn't always better, yet it continues to capture the imagination of engineers and historians alike. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this entry. If you want me to also give you a quick fact card version so it matches my short entries, like the MG42 and T34, let me know in the comments. That way all your pieces will have both a detailed and a reference-friendly format.